Lots of people talk about chasing their dreams, but how many actually do it? Welcome to the Pursue Your Passion podcast with Tyler Kammerman. We're going to introduce you to people who are intentionally pursuing their passion every day. Through their stories of success and their struggles, you'll gain insight into how to better begin or continue your journey. Now here's Tyler with today's guest.
Welcome to the Pursue Your Passion podcast. Glad that you're joining us again today. This is Tyler Kammerman, your host. Today, I am with Drew Harden. Drew is the president and co-founder of Blue Compass. I'm going to let Drew tell you more about Blue Compass. I know they do a wide variety of things, content, strategy, social media, websites, all of that good stuff. But Drew and I met several years ago, have kind of gotten to know each other through different events, but I am really excited to have you here, a new kind of voice on the Pursue Your Passion podcast. So welcome, Drew.
Thank you, Tyler. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, excellent. So Drew, to start, since my intro was a little weak, tell us a little bit about what the different areas that Blue Compass, what you guys all do.
Sure. So I always say that every day at Blue Compass, we get more qualified users to come to our clients' websites, and then we get them to convert on those websites. So we're all about giving our clients a clear direction for their digital presence. And we do that through website design and development. Search engine optimization is really big for us and our clients. Social media marketing, content marketing, and online ads, and things like that. So we're a digital agency. We're based in West Des Moines, Iowa. We have 30 team members. And it's awesome. It's been a huge blessing, and we have a wonderful team and culture. And every day it feels like coming to work with a bunch of friends and just hanging out.
That's awesome. So where I used to work with Principal Financial Group, we used to share. We were on the same floor as Drew's company, so I've kind of seen some of the iteration of the company,
Sure.
from an outside view. But I think for the listeners, it would be cool to know how this started, how you and Carrie got this thing started. And, obviously you don't have to give us the blow by blow, but kind of from start to where we are now, how Blue Compass has morphed. And,
yeah, absolutely. So I co-founded this with a guy named Carrie Coppola, and he and I met in 2005. We worked at the same place. It was a video production company and had great experiences there, learned a lot about the agency life and serving clients. And when it got to be about 2007, I started really wanting to get more into digital and more into the web. And the only problem was, where I worked, we did that a little bit, but it was mostly a video production company, which is fine. But I went to Carrie one day and I said, hey, would you have any interest in quitting here and starting our own place where we just spent each and every day giving good organizations a clear digital direction? And in addition to that, I love good company culture, and the culture there had really gone downhill, and it just wasn't ideal. There was some drama and gossip, and that was really difficult for me because when I had started there, it was really fantastic culture. And so I asked Carrie, and he said, no, my wife's pregnant with our first kid. I don't think it'd be a good idea to do that right now. And I thought, well, I guess that's probably a reasonable response. And my wife was pregnant with our first child at the same time. But I'm pretty persistent, and I just kept asking him, and eventually I think he was having a bad day, and he said, all right, let's go ahead and do it. And so we ended up quitting our jobs. This was 2007, and we never had any funding or debt or backing. I don't know that we had much of a business plan. We didn't really have any clients, and we just quit our jobs and did our best to build websites. I don't even know if they were that good back then, but we did our best. And I think we were really blessed. We're in the right place at the right time, and we ended up, making a bit of a name and, taking projects here and there. And slowly we did well enough that in 2008, we were able to get a really small office. We were able to hire a couple people. We continued to grow, and we added digital marketing to our list of services so we could really support these websites we were building, and added a few more team members, moved into a couple more offices, and then finally moved into the office we're in today. And the rest is history. There's been lots of ups and downs. We've made good decisions and bad, but mostly good decisions, I think. And gosh, learned a lot on the way. So it's been a really great journey so far.
That's awesome. So, and I think this next question flows somewhat in and out of your business, but I'm making that assumption on my own. So I'll just go ahead and ask. So, tell us about the passion or passions that you're intentionally pursuing right now.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest passions for me as I've been on this journey has become company culture, which I've mentioned a couple times. And that was really one of the two main reasons why we started Blue Compass. We wanted to have a fun, positive, supportive environment where people could come and work and enjoy their time and not have to look over their shoulder like someone's taking their credit. And so that's been really, really important for us. And so for me, I think my number one purpose as president of this company is to make our values known to our team members, to live them out myself, to make our mission really clear, and then to help our team do that as well. And I think if we can create a really positive, fun, supportive culture, it's just like a garden that allows, seeds to grow and flourish and produce. And we have to keep tabs on it. We have to pull out the weeds. We have to make sure the sun is shining brightly. We have to water the garden.
Sure.
But if we can do these things, it allows our team members to take creative risks, to do what they want to do. And so many people right now are leaving their jobs, are looking for work, are moving all around.
Right.
And I just feel really thankful that we haven't had, many people at all, especially in recent years, leave Blue Compass. And so we haven't had to worry as much about that. And I think it's because, we treat our team really well and we're very, very purposeful about that culture. So to me, that's one of my biggest passions right now. And it's not just about our team, it's also about our clients. I think probably the best way for us to serve our clients is also to have a great culture and to treat our team members really well. Because when we do that, it helps them be happier, more productive, and serve our clients better. So it's really an incredibly positive, wonderful thing to have a great culture in your organization.
Yeah, that's great. So again, kind of outside looking in, when we shared a floor, I will say there's just a lot of smiles. I mean, it sounds kind of cheesy, but you could tell that the people that were coming and leaving work were happy to be there. If you can expand on that a little bit, maybe on the how. You mentioned values and things like that,
Yeah.
but on you don't have to go granular, but tell us unpack that a little bit more. What are the things that you're doing that you think might be different, or just that
Sure.
you're really focused on within the organization to
Sure.
promote that culture?
So a couple years ago, Carrie, my business partner, and I decided to secretly go meet our team members' parents. That sounds a little weird, but we actually did that. So we had only our office manager in on this, and she scheduled times with various parents for us to go drive all the way to their houses. We brought a camera, we interviewed them, we asked them questions about their son or daughter. We said, what makes them tick? What were they like in high school? We asked, do you have any embarrassing stories to share too? And then we put together a big video and we brought it back to our team. And somehow we were able to keep this totally a secret. And we brought it to the team, and this was at a company party we had. And we said, understanding one another is one of the bedrocks of company culture, understanding and appreciating one another. And so what better way to understand one another than to talk to your parents? And so I walked off the stage and we played the video. And it was such an incredibly interesting experience to see our team members suddenly come to the realization that we went and visited their parents. So we drove over 500 miles this took us weeks to do. We took literally days off work to go do this. And it was so much fun and one of the best experiences of my entire career, I think, because I got to know these team members even better than I already do, and I got to appreciate them so much more. And the parents were awesome and they all loved it. And the team member, I know it sounds weird and maybe a little creepy, but our team members loved it too. Everyone had a great time. There was so much laugh, maybe a little embarrassment here or there.
I'm
and
sure.
It was surprising, some of the stories that some of the parents told, but they loved it. And so do you have to do something crazy like that to have a great company culture? No, but I think that's exemplary of something that how seriously we take it here. And for us to go and spend time with our team members' families, we're really serious about it. We want to do that. Another thing we're doing right now, and only a few of our team members know about this, and we're going to put a video out on this pretty soon, but we printed out a bunch of giant 10-foot by 20-foot banners. And we put our team members individually on these banners, and then we put a brief thank you message to each team member. Like, we love working with Mallory. Everything Jordan touches turns to gold, or something like that.
Yeah.
And so we have been, over the past month, Carrie and I have been going up on top of buildings. Of course, we ask permission, or high structures, and we've scheduled it so someone will bring them by. We have cameras set up, and we will release the banner down the side of the building, totally surprise them with this huge gratitude message. And it's been really fun to see their expressions. And again, that's something kind of crazy to do. You don't have to do that to have a great company culture. But I think that showing gratitude and appreciation to your team members is such a positive thing to do. And when you mix that with an element of surprise, I find it becomes even more powerful.
Sure.
And so there's little things that you can do and that we do too, like, just randomly bring in someone's favorite coffee from a Starbucks or something like that.
Yeah.
Writing a random thank you note to our team members. So I don't think anyone's ever left a job because they were appreciated too much. So anything we can do to show that appreciation, to show our thanks, to show our gratitude, and like I said, mix in a little surprise is very powerful.
Yeah, that's great. I love. I've heard the story. I mean, I think I've seen part of the video.
Yeah.
Maybe if that was. Did you guys put that out on social media too, or just
We did?
teasers?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Meet the Parents one, that's on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
And I think it's on the About Us or the company culture page on our website as well.
Yeah. I know. I don't know if I've seen the whole thing, but I remember seeing clips of it, and I just thought that was such a cool idea. And I love the idea of the banners. It makes me think. We were talking before off the air, about living in California, and it makes me think of like Sunset Boulevard, with the
Sure.
big movie posters,
Yep.
and that's awesome. I mean, I think that's really, really cool. Now, is that something that, I know you do some public speaking as well. Is that when you go out and do those things, is that something that you're talking about? Or when you're doing your public speaking, is that more on the content strategy side of things and less on the company culture?
Yeah, well,
Or both?
both.
Okay.
When I started speaking, I mostly spoke about digital marketing topics like, search engine optimization, social media marketing. I still do that, but little by little, it's become a little more about company culture and leadership over time. So yes, things like this make great stories. And we do typically, when we do something crazy like this, we typically will put it out as a video publicly. But it's definitely not done with the intent to make it public or make it a story. It's done with our team in mind first. I guess that's just an added benefit.
Well, and I think that's how, it has to be for it to work. Otherwise
They would see
it
through
could be
it.
cheesy.
It'd be
You're
fake,
going to see through it. Like,
Yep.
hey, this is a publicity stunt.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, you could definitely tell it's heartfelt and coming from the right place.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm interested to know, because it's always interesting to me to see where people, how they landed where they're at. And so a question that I've been asking a lot of my guests is, tell me about your dreams when you were a kid, or what did 7-year-old Drew want to be when he grew up?
Right. When I was really young, I wanted to be an elephant trainer, but that didn't quite pan out. I was a big fan of elephants, my favorite animal. That didn't happen. But probably when I was 7, I was very artistic. I really loved to draw. I really loved being creative. So probably an artist. I think I probably wanted to be an artist. And that continued probably as I got into my teens. I never knew exactly what I was going to be, but I figured it would be something to do with design or art or something like that. When I was, I don't even know how old I was, maybe like 14 or something, or 12. I have no idea. I got Mario Paint on the Super Nintendo, and that was the first time I ever animated anything. And I have that game up in my office right now.
That's cool.
Just over on a shelf, because that really got me in animation and also digital design, and that kind of put me on the path I am on now.
Yeah.
I started out my career as a graphic designer and as an animator, and then that kind of led me, down the path I am today.
Well, that's really unique. I would say your situation is kind of unique, because a lot of people, that passion when they were a kid is not what they're
Sure,
doing now.
right.
And I think, and that's part of the reason that I asked the question too, because my hope is that people that are listening to this show are either on their journey of pursuing their passion, or maybe they're trying to figure it out. And I think sometimes it is going back to that. What did I want to be when I was a kid? What
Sure.
inspired me when I was younger? Because maybe that's the piece that's gonna, get me. Maybe that's the place where I got to go and take the next step to see if that's what's really gonna fire me up.
Sure. Well, and I think even if you have gone down the path, or maybe when you were younger, you wanted to be something and you worked on that for years and it didn't happen and you're doing something else. I don't think that was a mistake necessarily. I mean, we all learn from our experiences. And my guess is if that happened to you, you learned some great, tools and ideas along the way that you probably made you who you are now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that brings up a good point right there, Drew. So, you've been at this now, for 14,
Yeah, 14
yeah,
years.
14
Yeah,
years.
here at
So,
Blue Compass.
obviously, along that way, there's been some struggles and some setbacks.
Right.
Would you mind talking about one or two of those and how you overcame that?
Sure. Yeah, I think, a couple come to mind, and probably a bit in the company culture vein as well, since we talked about that. But when we started Blue Compass, again, our goal was to have a great company culture, and we did for years, probably for 5-6 years. It was fantastic. And then probably about in 2012 or so, I always say the best and worst thing that ever happened to us occurred, which is that we got this massive, massive client, huge project, bigger than we'd ever gotten. And it was great because it helped us immediately grow and, become a stronger company. And it was not great because we suddenly doubled in size. So we had 8 people before that, and we immediately grew to 16. And I think we grew too fast. And I don't know that I was ready for that necessarily. And so I noticed that suddenly our culture was getting a little more negative. There was a little drama, a little gossip. And that experience made me realize, the power of my personality isn't enough to fuel a great culture, especially as we grow. We have to be really purposeful about this. And so we didn't have any company values up to that point. So we defined 5 really solid values, and they're still on our wall today. We talk about them all the time. My team probably is tired of hearing me talk about them all the time. We are positive. We give clients our best. We support one another. We grow our expertise, and we reject drama and gossip.
I love it.
And so that really helped give us clarity, and it helped us be a bit more purposeful in our actions and what we did. And everyone on our team can recite those and knows those and appreciates those. So it's really important to us. So I think that was one of the challenges that we faced early on.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you sharing that. And I think that's really helpful. Just as you said it in my head, it's like, okay, I think too many times when there is that setback or that struggle, we go into duck and cover mode, and maybe there was a day or two or a week that you did that as well. But it's the biggest, not to be cliche, but they say, it's not, you're going to have problems. That's not going to be,
Right.
that it's how you react. It's how
Yep.
you're going to get knocked down. It's how you get back up.
Yep.
And, to come back and say, hey, we're starting to see stuff that we didn't like at the company. That's why we left the company we're at. So how are we going to respond to that? Let's put some values in place. And I think that's great, because that's something that I'm glad that the 5 still stand, but it's also something where that could morph, that could be 5 turns into 8, or it could be, hey, number 4, we need to adjust number 4, or
Sure.
something like that.
Sure. Absolutely.
So being, amiable or pliable, what's the word I'm looking for here? Being flexible.
Flexible.
That's
Right.
Another bull. Being flexible in that type of situation. I think that's really good. And, I think it's great too. A lot of times we see there's obviously some really good chemistry with you and Carrie as well, because a lot of times partnerships, they don't last 14 years,
Yeah.
I think, I don't know what the numbers are, but I would think, there's probably some numbers on that as well. So,
Yeah.
you guys clearly bring, different things to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a challenge for many people to have a business partner or multiple business partners. And it's, it sounds silly, but I almost liken it into a marriage, in that you have to be communicative. You have to share your feelings. I mean, you have to be on the same page as one another. You have to work at it.
Sure.
And, we've had our ups and downs, but mostly it's been ups. I mean, we've had a really great partnership. I think what helps us is that we're friends.
Yeah.
And we appreciate each other. And Kerry is he has no ego. He's so selfless. He's such a great sense of humor, and he's never threatened by me, and I'm not threatened by him. And so I think we've been blessed, and I'm thankful for his partnership over the years. It's been really good. I've been lucky.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, kind of flip that on its head a little bit. What's been your biggest success, or what are you the most proud of?
Yeah, I mean, I think just starting Blue Compass is something I'm proud of. I look back and people said, "Wow, weren't you scared?" I mean, quitting your job, having your first child on the way. And I always say I wasn't scared at all. I never felt scared. And it's not because I'm smart or wise or business savvy. It's just because I was so passionate. I just really wanted to do it. And that really taught me that when your passions outweigh your fears, you can do some pretty great things. And so looking back, could I do that today? I mean, I probably could, but it'd probably be harder because now I'm like, well, this could go wrong and that could go wrong. And that this would be a lot of work. And I think just keeping Blue Compass afloat, especially the early years, I mean, it's hard to start a business and it's hard to make everything work. And most businesses, fail in the first year because it's just difficult. And gosh, I poured so many hours into it and worked so hard and probably too hard. And it took me a while to realize, hey, I need some balance here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad I finally figured that out. But I'm proud of my younger self for that initial push.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and for those of you taking notes, when your passion outweighs your fears, almost anything's possible. I love that. That's a good reminder, for me too. And I think for anybody that's thinking about, doing something different or is in the middle of doing something different.
Sure.
And in the episode before you, one of the guys, Phillips, said, we're very rare, we're not going to tell somebody, very rarely are we going to tell somebody to quit their job.
Right.
A lot of times it's about, finding that thing and starting to chase it along with doing something else. You guys were in a unique position where your skill set kind of allowed you to do that. But I think that, since I brought up what Philip said, I also should reiterate, sometimes it is about, hey, this isn't where I'm supposed to be. This is what I want to do, and not being afraid to take that first step and going after it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's difficult a lot of times because I don't know that we did it the smartest way. I mean, we kind of just took a risk and quit our jobs. And was that the smart thing to do? I don't know. But I'm thankful that it worked out. And in some cases it is, in some cases it isn't. But I would say that perfection is the enemy of completion. And a lot of us, we want to do something, but we're like, well, let me get this situation in better order first, or let me wait till this happens. And I just think if you wait until the situation is perfect, it's hard to ever make a move. Things won't ever be perfect.
Right.
So you have to be smart about it, but you also have to take a bit of a risk at some point.
Yeah. You've got, if you're gonna pursue your passion intentionally, you've got to be willing to take some risks along the way.
Yeah. Be smarter than I was, but take the risk at the right time.
Exactly.
That's the lesson.
I like it. So, as you think ahead, tell me, what dream or goal haven't you reached yet?
Yeah. Well, I would love to help more organizations find the positive culture that we've found. I would love to help organizations do that. And I talk about the subject, and sometimes I'll do, minor guidance and consultation, but I would love to be more purposeful about that. I would love to help more organizations. I would love for more professionals to love their jobs, to find that support, to, have more passion about what they're doing and feel purposeful when they go to work. So I think that's something I'm not quite there yet, and I'd love to figure out how to do that better.
Well, as we've been talking, that's what's in the back of my head is it's like, I see the passion, what's cool for me, and you're passionate about Blue Compass as well. So don't hear what I'm not saying on the other end of the mic, but like, one of the things that I love about talking to people about this stuff is their eyes light up, and you can just tell when someone isn't just giving you the sales pitch, they're actually talking about what drives them.
Sure.
And I think that there's a huge opportunity there. I mean, I'm sure there's people that already speak in that space, but I think the challenge is in, the big corporate companies are probably the place where they're going to hire a speaker to come in and talk about company culture, but it's almost gone too far there. Like you've got to find the companies, and you've got to find the companies that are on their way up or are still in that small to mid-sized business space where managers can still affect change because there's not 10 layers above them, and if you are going to go to the big corporate place, I mean, you've really got to get CEO from on down to buy in if you're actually going to make that culture change. But that's in the back of my head. I'm like, yeah, I could definitely see, you bringing that sense of, hey, and again, I love that you said you don't have to go and talk to their parents and make a video like that. That worked for us, but that's not the solution for, or that's not what everybody's going to do. But to come and talk about the things that have worked for you guys, and how it can work somewhere else. I love hearing you talk about people being happy at work, because there is just, I mean, some of it's a stigma, but there is a lot of people that it's just, oh my gosh, I got to go to work again today.
Sure.
And I just want to find each one of them and go, okay, let's find something that you can be happy with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether it's at work or at least something, that's going to keep you going, and keep you not dreading your 8 to 5 because you've got this other thing that's getting you excited.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I would 100% get behind you.
Appreciate the support.
Spending some time on that. So what would you say to somebody that, is struggling to find their passion, or maybe they're pretty sure they found it and they're trying to get a passion project off the ground? You got any words of wisdom or thoughts for a person or persons in those situations?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think first of all, if you can find your passion, that's amazing. A lot of people are not quite sure what their passion is. And so if you can identify it and find that, that's step one. And then step two is, how can I be more purposeful about it? And I don't think it doesn't have to be a huge step like I took. It doesn't have to be a jump out of the plane. It can be a baby step. And I always love what Henry Ford said. He said that, no task is particularly difficult if you just break it up into small steps. And so how can you break this up into small steps? I mean, if you want to get to a point where you're doing your passion full time or part time or whatever that is, how can you take small steps to get there now? And then, like I said before, I think perfection is the enemy of completion. So don't tell yourself you have to have a perfect scenario, a perfect plan, a perfect situation, because if that's the case, you'll never do it. And so accept that things aren't perfect. And it's not just you. Big corporations have big problems with that too. They sit on things forever, and they should have launched it a long time ago. I mean, everyone has that problem. So be okay with being imperfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that is, again, entrepreneurial, not, nonprofit, whatever you're doing, that, be okay with not being perfect. Cause so many times, I mean, I even see it in my kids, if they're trying something new and it's really challenging, it's like, okay, I'm going to do something different. I'm like, well, hold on.
Right.
Like you really liked that until you ran into this hard spot.
Yep.
So that's a place where I'm trying to step in and coach with my kids is like, hey, everything that's worth something, it takes some work. I mean, if it's easy for you, you're not going to appreciate it later. So,
and every expert was once a novice and was really horrible at their expertise. They didn't know anything about it. They couldn't do anything right. I mean, that's how we all start, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly. So, Drew, you've written a book, so I'm assuming you probably enjoy reading as well. Or am I making an assumption that I shouldn't?
I don't really enjoy reading, but I do it. I try to be really purposeful about making myself read. I think it's, I mentioned one of our values is we continually grow our expertise. And I think that's so essential, whether it's an organization or an individual. You have to move forward or you'll be falling behind.
Sure.
And so I know that reading is one of the ways that I do that. I think it's really important that we work on ourselves, improving ourselves, and probably just as important, if not more so, than our work on our jobs, because it's hard for us to ascend higher than our skill levels and our wisdom. And so, yeah, long story short, reading's not my favorite, but I do.
So knowing that and actually that's interesting that you say that, because I sort of feel the same way. I challenged myself this year to like, okay, you've been saying you're going to start reading again.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. One of I think it's a couple episodes back, Dylan, I think is who I was talking to. And he was like, I just got so burned out in college. And I was sitting across from him going, that's exactly what it
Yeah.
was. When I had to read,
Sure.
I got so burned out on it that I stopped.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to get back into it. So, but the reason that I bring that up is I would love to hear if there's, one or two or three books that have really impacted you. I think that's one of the ways that we can share our knowledge, share our wealth with other people,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, every single day I read the Bible in the morning. That's the most impactful book by far for me. And that's life-changing,
Awesome.
Life-changing, amazing. A lot of books. I've read a lot of books. I've probably read about 20 this year, and I keep track of all of them. And I take great pride whenever I finish a book, I'll write it down in this document. And so I have this whole list of books. Only I look at it. I don't know. It's like I accomplished that.
This sounds something very familiar. Like I should be doing that.
Yeah.
Like, here's my list of the books that I've read.
Yeah. It makes it more tangible. I don't know. So it's hard to pick out a number of books, but I think one of them that I actually looked at this morning, and I set it out because I was like, I should read this again, but it's called As a Man Thinketh. It's a really old book. It's written by a guy named James Allen, and it's all about the concept that you are what you think. You become what you think.
Okay.
It's really, really powerful. It's very short, and it's written a long time ago, but that's a great book, I think, for anyone to read. And I think that concept is so true. What you fill your mind with ultimately impacts your emotions, your actions, and your direction in life. It's really powerful. And it's hard because, by default, we as humans are really good at being negative. And that's why you go into a bookstore and you don't see any books about how to be negative, because we're all really good at it.
Yeah, we got that down.
A lot of books about positive thinking. And so I think that's really powerful. Another book I read a couple years ago in the similar vein is called The Happiness Trap. That's by Russ Harris.
Okay.
And it's very much also about one's thought life and the concept that, just because a negative thought enters your mind doesn't mean you need to entertain it. Mm-hmm. And filling your brain with helpful thoughts. That was a really good book for me. And another book, and I guess this is also about thoughts, so apparently I need a lot of help with thinking more positively. But it's How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie.
Okay.
Very old book, probably written 100 years ago. And I read that probably 5-6 years ago, and it really helped me deal with worry and handling that. I used to worry a lot, I think, when Blue Compass started. I used to always think, when's this going to fall apart? Mm. And I realized after a number of years that instead of playing to win, I was playing not to lose. And I finally just accepted, if Blue Compass goes out of business tomorrow and falls apart, I resolved to be nothing but thankful for the time that I had here, for everything I learned. And after I resolved to do that, it just made it easier. So I honestly don't worry or have a lot of stress anymore. I've been able to do really well in that area. So I'm thankful for that. So those are a few books off the top of my head that for me have been helpful.
That's awesome. That's a huge switch that flips, and people say it different ways. But playing to win instead of playing not to lose, mm-hmm. And how much bigger of a difference that can make. And I love that you brought up, helping you deal with worry. Yeah. That's not necessarily something that always gets brought up in that conversation. So I love that was, something that changed for you. We are still good on time. So I'm actually, this is not specifically a faith-based show by any means, but knowing you outside of the podcast and the fact that you brought up the Bible, I'm interested in, possibly, and maybe you can say it hasn't a ton, but how your faith has affected your approach to company culture and the way that you lead your team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that probably the greatest leader ever was Jesus. And so, when you look at his example, what did he do with his disciples and with the people around him? And I see him, as I read, the Gospels, I see him pouring himself into his disciples. He obviously cares very much about them. He spends a lot of time teaching. He spends a lot of time with them. He listens to them. He supports them. And so, and I mean, ultimately, he sacrifices himself for them as well. And so I think that right there is a great example. I think a really good leader cares about their team, listens to them, supports them, and is sacrificial. I mean, as I want to be a great leader that is willing to do the hard work myself, that is willing to take a little less of the credit and a little more of the blame. And I think just his example is really inspirational to me. So right off the bat, I think that's something that's been really helpful to me, just in my role as a leader.
Yeah, that's huge. And I would concur with the Jesus being one of the greatest leaders ever.
Certainly the best.
Yeah, absolutely. I did say one of the best. I agree, the best. So thank you for sharing that with me. I just you mentioned the Bible, and I when we were going through that West Point Leadership Academy, they wanted to, they said, hey, what book has had the biggest impact? So, they didn't give us three, they said
Sure.
one, and then their whole thing was hold it up, and we're going to take a screenshot. Cause at the time we were still all on Zoom because this is in the middle of COVID. And, I thought about that and I'm like, there's so many great books, Bob Goff and I love Does and Dream Big. And, and then on the business side of things, you've, lots of amazing books and a lot of them that I saw, I'm like, yes, that's a great book. I love that one. But in my head, it's like, if you really want to know the book that has impacted me the most, it's hands down the Bible, And so I held up my Bible and I had several people like, wow, that's really cool. I'm glad that you did that, interestingly enough, I had a guy reach out to me on LinkedIn because he saw that photo and was like, I want to get together for lunch. And I'm like, cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, I think that, not being afraid to live out your faith in your business is huge.
I think people respect someone who's bold and who isn't afraid to, state what they believe in a respectful way.
Yeah. And I think that's what I was going to say too. I think even people who don't share the same faith, if you're doing it from a genuine spot, aren't put off by it either because they see that it's genuine and they respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Awesome. I did want to ask you too. If you're a podcast guy, because I think a lot of people obviously that listen to podcasts, might be interested in other ones to check out as well. So
sure.
Do you have some favorites or ones that inspire you
other than yours?
Yes, right.
Yeah,
that's obviously number one.
There's one called Entree Leadership that I've always kind of enjoyed. It's a Dave Ramsey from his organization, and it's just all about leadership in business, and I think that's been really positive. There's another podcast called the John Maxwell Leadership Podcast that's been really good for me as well. So those are some good ones. I listen. I mean, but it's not just like culture and leadership. I listen to a lot of stuff. I have YouTube Premium, and so I listen to so many videos. I can listen when my phone is turned off or the screen isn't on, and so I don't listen to music very often at all. I guess my dad is a radio talk show host, and I guess maybe that sank in, but I love listening to podcasts and talk and all that sort of thing. I love hearing new ideas and things like that. I listen to a lot of podcasts from the video game industry, actually.
Oh, cool.
And I don't have a lot of time to play video games. I do occasionally, but I really enjoy following the industry for some reason, so I'll listen to that as well.
Interesting. Oh, that's very cool. Well, yeah. And then, quick side note, I guess early on in our meeting relationship, we figured out that our parents were, or your dad and mom, my mom were high school classmates.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Adele DeSoto, or maybe it was just Adele back then.
It was probably just Adele back then. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Small world.
Exactly. So, Drew, where can our listeners get in touch with you or find out more about you? Website, social media, what's the best way for them to connect with you? And we'll make sure, put that in the show notes.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm on pretty much every social platform. We had a contest, or I forget what we were doing. We did something at work the other day, and one of the questions was who here at Blue Compass is the most active on social media, and they voted me the most active, which I never thought of. I don't know how I feel about that. I honestly don't read a lot I don't consume a lot of social media, but I do post a lot, I feel like. So I'm on pretty much every social media platform. If you go to drewharden.com, so Drew, Harden, HARDEN.com. You can find all my social platform links there. My email is there, and there's a page about me as well. And it'll take you to the Blue Compass website. So that's probably the best place to go.
Awesome. Well, Drew, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me today. Love your passion for your company, but even more than that, your passion for your culture within your company. And I'm excited to see Blue Compass continue to thrive, but also, if you do decide to take that outside of these doors, the impact that I believe you can have on other companies as well.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Tyler. This is really fun. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening, everybody. And we'll look forward to talking with you again in a couple weeks.
If you have questions or would like to contact us, please check out the show details for contact information. Thanks for listening to the Pursue Your Passion podcast.